Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lamar, and if you're new here, this is just a space where I like to discuss books that I'm currently reading or previously have read. More times it's just reviews of books and stuff, so if you like that kind of content, please be sure to subscribe and join the community that I'm trying to build with common interests of different books. More times it's like sci-fi or fantasy, and oftentimes it's Caribbean authors or just books that pique my interest. So if you're interested in that, then be sure to definitely subscribe below. Today is a different kind of book that I've heard a lot about, a lot of good reviews about, and I can honestly understand why, especially after completing it. I got this one from my local library, and this is none other than The Lathe of Heaven by Ursula Le Guin, or Le Guin? I don't know how to pronounce that, but yeah, this is a beautiful book. It took me not too long to read, like about a week, like in between when I had some downtime. It's not too long of a book. It's only about 184 pages, so it was pretty easy to, get through, and it's pretty digestible. But honestly, this book changed my perception and my relationship with dreaming. I can read a little synopsis, so you guys, if you're unfamiliar with it, I can quickly go over that. In a future world racked by violence and environmental catastrophes, George Orr wakes up one day to discover that his dreams have the ability to alter reality. He seeks help from Dr. William Haber, a psychiatrist who immediately grasps the power George wields. Soon, George must preserve reality itself, as Dr. Haber becomes adept at manipulating George's dreams for his own purposes. The Lathe of Heaven is an eerily prescient novel from award-winning author Ursula Le Guin that masterfully addresses the dangers of power and humanity's self-destructiveness, questioning the nature of reality itself. It is a classic of the science fiction genre. So I definitely agree. This is a classic for sure. Basically the book, like as they kind of got from the description, it goes into the details of, how reality is formed, and for specifically George, he has this specific ability to warp the reality around him in his dreams, but it's semi out of his control, and he, in lieu of that, he tries to inebriate himself with different medications to prevent him from dreaming, to avoid that kind of responsibility that comes with that type of power that is more working through him than from him, if that makes sense. Like the higher powers that be, or the universe, is kind of manifesting itself through those dreams. And of course, everybody kind of initially is kind of skeptic of it until he meets this one psychiatrist that actually tests the theory, and something kind of manifests to the point where it's like you can't deny it. And since that point, it's just been on like a roller coaster. I'm not gonna spoil it, but a roller coaster of dreaming realities. And though the doctor, I like how these characters are written, and I love the prose in this book. Though the doctor had good intentions, it ultimately was unable to fully manifest with that intention, because I feel like it kind of reflects also human nature in terms of the self-destructive aspect of trying to take matters into your own hand, when really we don't really fully understand the true extent of our power and our impact upon the world around us, and how our dreams can manifest in ways that are not maybe ideally in the way that we imagined it, but maybe in the way that is how it's supposed to be, in alignment with whatever universal, laws and physics and different realities that exist. So an example in this book, like George found out that he had this ability with experience that he had when he was a teenager, where his aunt was being abusive towards him, and one day he just kind of dreamed that a few weeks ago his aunt passed away from a car crash, because his aunt was staying with him and his mom and stuff, his family, for a while. But his dreams have the power to like overwrite reality, and is only as he is the center of his dreaming experience, he is the only one who's aware of the initial timeline and the rewritten timeline. And I was actually talking to my partner about this book and how it kind of correlates to Boruto, to Blue Vortex specifically, and The Matrix and different things like that, because that one is correlated to that too. In terms of the having different timelines and being like a what's the word, an alter, like a specific point of timeline divergence, where you're like an entity like that is kind of outside of the slew of reality, that you can be like aware of the different, I guess, timelines, like I forgot the words evading me, but like a person that can be the change and be aware at the same time. But as the book progresses, there's other people that are aware of this ability and validate it, and are also kind of different factors of reality that are like anomalies. That's the word, anomalies. So yeah, this book is honestly very beautiful, and kind of also talks about like the dynamic of George. George is very peaceful and simple, the main character, whereas Dr. Haber is very scientific and very methodical, and whereas George can lean sometimes towards more of a peaceful and holistic perspective of life and universe, and how the ways in which life works and the mysteries of life. Dr. Haber is like on the other end of that, where it's like everything is has an explanation, like a scientific explanation. There's like a rhyme and reason for every cause and delay, and the two often were butting heads, and it's just I feel like it's like a metaphor for the different dynamics of humanity, in terms of having different people on different sides of the spectrum, when in reality science and spirituality, science and magic kind of go hand in hand, and you can't really have a scientific explanation for everything. Science is just the specific explanations of how magic occurs in ways, but there's some things that can't be explained, and there's some universal truths and hidden ways that are above our human perception and understanding that cannot be explained. And I think this book was a beautiful juxtaposition and a pull, tug of war between those types of beliefs. And because I feel like the doctor initially started to try to put the intention of, for example, like ending war or something, but then that kind of didn't happen. It happened and didn't happen, and it just kind of created, every time he tried to fix something, it created a bigger problem. And I think it just shows that like there's a line in there where it's like humans and people, like, we're just kind of not fully in control. We're very passive in terms of, in the grand scheme of things, we're just a blade of grass in a field of grass, or we're just kind of like the wind. Like there's things that happen to us, and there's things that are beyond our control, that sometimes the more you try to control things, the less things are able to be controlled, and some things are inevitable. And I feel like this book was a beautiful exploration of those kind of concepts. I also wrote some quotes in my commonplace book, which I've been trying to use a bit more. I wrote quite a few quotes. And I liked how each chapter almost started with like a quote at the beginning of each chapter. There's only 11 chapters in this book. So some of my favorite chapters, or rather quotes, are, I can just read some. At dreaming, at what dreaming is an aspect of, in terms of a specific part of the book, these entities are more understanding and perceptive of dreaming. So they've done it for a long time, for always, I guess. They are of the dream time. Everything dreams. The play of form, of being, is the dreaming of substance. Rocks have their dreams, and the earth changes. But when the mind becomes conscious, when the rate of evolution speeds up, then you have to be careful of the world. You must learn the way. You must learn the skills, the art, the limits. A conscious mind must be a part of the whole, intentionally and carefully, as the rock is part of the whole unconsciously. That was a nice quote. Another one was, speech is silver, silence is gold, self is universe. I like that one too. And there's a lot of quotes from this, I'm not sure if it's a poet, an emperor, but it's, I think, a older generation, I think Chinese, don't correct me if I'm wrong, author or person, influential figure, if you will. And they have a lot of good quotes, where one of them is, the portal of God is non-existence. And it's Shuang Say the 13th, or chapter 13. I don't know if it's, I don't think it's a book. Don't quote me, don't. Another good quote is, those whom heaven helps, we call the sons of heaven. They do not learn this by learning. They do not work it by working. They do not reason it by using reason. To let understanding stop at what cannot be understood is a high attainment. Those who cannot do it will be destroyed by the lathe of heaven. And the book, obviously, Lathe of Heaven. So I'm assuming that's the direct correlation and inspiration for a lot of the works in this type of concept of a book. It's very vast for such a thin book, but it's beautiful, honestly. Some other of my favorite quotes, things like, this was a conversation between Dr. Haber and George. Isn't that man's very purpose on earth? To do things, change things, run things, make a better world? And then George was like, no. And then Dr. Haber said, what's his purpose then? George says, I don't know. Things don't have purposes, as if the universe were a machine, where every part has a useful function. What's the function of a galaxy? I don't know if our life has a purpose, and I don't see that it matters. What does matter is that we're a part, like a thread in a cloth, or like a grass blade in a field. It is, and we are. What we do is like wind blowing on the grass, which is what I was kind of chopping up earlier in terms of a quotation, but I do know that it's wrong to force the pattern of things. And it's just a beautiful book. I don't want to get into too much of the details, but even the last line of the book, there's aliens, spoiler, there's aliens, yes. Sci-fi, towards the end. This is the final line of the book, was, the alien watched them from within the glass-fronted shop, as a sea creature might watch from an aquarium, seeing them pass and disappear into the mist. And I just feel like it was so beautiful, and there's like some love elements and stuff, and there's representation in terms of there being a biracial character and stuff, and that being like an actual defining character trait that once extrapolated from that character, it kind of takes away from the character. Like, there's so much beauty in the complexities and the intersectionalities of all of us that exist as humans, and I feel like when we try to over pacify the problems of the world, it could end up making for a very bland world, and also more problems than what you started with. So I just feel like overall this is a beautiful book, and I would definitely recommend it if you're looking for a nice little sci-fi read. I'm sure a lot of people have probably heard of this and read this before, but it's been on my list for a while, and after reading it, I really appreciated it. So yeah, if you guys have any other comments or questions, or if you like this book, read it, if any recommendations, let me know. Try to be consistent with this. Every time I read a book, I'm gonna try to make a video, even if it's just me that sees it. So for memories and safekeepings anyways. So yeah, until next time, I guess. Take care. Peace.